Donald Trump is running one of the worst presidential campaigns I have ever seen for two major reasons. The first is he's the candidate. Every time he opens his mouth or uses his tiny little fingers to type out a post on Truth Social, it just blows up in his face and goes horribly wrong every single time. And the second reason why it's such a bad campaign is what should be most core to a presidential campaign is your policy, what you would like to enact in your term. What is your agenda? And Donald Trump's agenda, Project 2025, is so unpopular that he is in a state of absolute panic because he keeps getting exposed for the worst elements of it. And really, all the elements of it are terrible, but Donald Trump is now running away from his own agenda. He's running away from his own running mate, and he's trying to run away from himself, so much so that his campaign is in a state of utter collapse. And there are reports that many top Republican officials want Donald Trump to get out of the race entirely. That's how badly it's going. That's how much the Republican Party and Donald Trump are panicking, and it's because they keep getting exposed. And someone who did a great job exposing Project 2025 in this mega viral clip that I think is important to check out is Mehdi Hasan. And his breakdown is so great, so let's take a look.
The clock. Chapter 1, turn the White House Counsel, which is supposed to give the president independent legal advice, into a, quote, activist force for the president's agenda. Chapter 2, root out anyone in the National Security Council or the Office of Management and Budget who's too woke or is aligned with the president's agenda. Chapter 3, replace thousands of career civil servants with MAGA loyalists. Chapter 4, radically increase the defense budget, expand the nuclear weapons production, lift restrictions on arms sales and expel all transgender people from the military. Chapter 5, ramp up deportations of undocumented immigrants, including dreamers, make it easier to detain kids in detention camps and allow ICE officers to arrest migrants anywhere in the US, even without a warrant. Chapter 6, defund the Palestinian Authority, bring back Trump's Remain in Mexico asylum policy and restrict funding for international health organizations like the WHO. Chapter 7, ramp up the use of covert ops and use the CIA to, quote, implement the president's agenda. Chapter 8, defund, quote, unquote, leftist news organizations like NPR and PBS. Chapter 9, get rid of all climate policy from our foreign aid programs. Chapter 10, restrict food stamps and free school meals in low-income school districts. Chapter 11, abolish the Department of Education. Chapter 12, gut renewable energy programs and vastly expand our natural gas infrastructure. Chapter 13, shrink the EPA and shut down the Office of Environmental Justice. Chapter 14, get rid of Head Start for low-income families and ban the abortion pill mifepristone. Chapter 15, ban all non-citizens from living in government-subsidized housing, even if they're living in a family with citizens. Chapter 16, weaken the Endangered Species Act and significantly expand oil drilling in Alaska. Chapter 17, empower the president to investigate his opponents through the DOJ and eliminate the FBI's independence. Chapter 18, make it easier for businesses to discriminate on the basis of religious freedom and, of course, race. Chapter 19, restrict the EPA's ability to regulate CO2 emissions from cars. Chapter 20, force the Department of Veterans Affairs to seize abortion services and gender-affirming surgery. Chapter 21, focus the Minority Business Development Agency on, quote, the evils of socialism and communism. Chapter 22, increase taxes on millions of low-income and middle-class households. Chapter 23, it's just a long rant against China. Chapter 24, should we bring back the gold standard? Chapter 25, punish Planned Parenthood for getting COVID-19 relief loans. Chapter 26, give more of Congress's power to make trade agreements to the president. Chapter 27, abolish the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which has saved consumers tens of billions of dollars. Chapter 28, limit content moderation on social media platforms. Leave hate speech alone. Chapter 29, take away the Federal Election Commission's power to prosecute election and campaign law violations. And Chapter 30, go after companies with ESG, DEI, and other corporate social responsibility programs. That's what's in Project 2025. That's what could be heading our way. And if you want more people to know what's in it, then share this bloody video with them, will you?
It is an absolutely terrifying agenda that is not only scary because of how devastating it would be to our democracy, our institutions, and our fundamental freedoms, but because it shows the contrast in this race perfectly. Donald Trump is an old man with old ideas who wants to not only bring us back to his first term in office with chaos and divisiveness, but he wants to push us back 25, 30, 40, 50 years when women did not have their fundamental freedoms, their reproductive rights, where tons of Americans, many Americans, did not enjoy basic civil liberties. And that is the contrast that is being made between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, who wants to protect and preserve fundamental freedoms in this country. And it's why, like I said, Donald Trump is running away from Project 2025, posting this on Truth Social. I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them. I think it's so funny that at the same time as Donald Trump is saying, oh, I have no idea what Project 2025 is, I have no clue what it is, he's also saying that, oh, some of the things that they're doing are ridiculous and I don't like the, oh, so you do know what it is. If you don't like some of the things, and he's also said he does like some of the things in Project 2025, you obviously know what it is. But of course, this is such a weak spot for Donald Trump that Democrats are doing an incredible job just piling on, bringing attention to it, which we absolutely should. And a lot of attention was brought to this kind of new campaign that I really like, just pointing out that while Project 2025 is dangerous, it's also just weird. And this ad does a great job of showing that.
Us MAGA Republicans banned abortion, but that's just the start.
That's just the start. If Trump gets elected, we want the government involved in all aspects of your sex life.
Way more involved.
Way more involved.
When you have sexual intercourse, it should be illegal to use contraception. No pills, no condoms.
Your genitals are reserved for procreation.
If you freeze 12 eggs, you should be required to have 12 babies, or else you're a serial killer. And I'm definitely not a serial killer.
Are you?
My son monitors my porn usage to make sure I'm not self-pleasuring.
Just like Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. That's true, you can look it up.
Don't you think that's normal?
Yeah, I do.
It's normal for your son to do that.
You should have a family member monitor your porn use too.
Because pleasuring yourself is very, very naughty.
I'm voting in November.
I'm voting in November.
We're all voting in November. Are you?
Because what happens in your bedroom is up to me.
Is up to me and my son. Also, mouth stuff is a sin.
As much as Republicans claim to be for freedom, and we talk a lot on this show about the hypocrisy of the Republican Party, the cognitive dissonance that is so key in the MAGA mindset. So as much as Republicans talk about freedom, they want to be involved in every aspect of our life. J.D. Vance has clearly made this abundantly clear to us by saying that, you know, he thinks that people without children shouldn't get as many votes as people with children. J.D. Vance doesn't want to just be involved in your family and your doctor's office, but he also wants to be involved with you at the voting booth, just in charge of how many votes you get. These people are so strange. They're so weird, and weird is the perfect word, and I'm glad that we are using that to describe Republicans, because although they're scary and Project 2025 is worrisome for the destructive things that it would do to our country and our rights, it's also just weird. And Republicans should be called weird because they are. And someone who did a great job breaking down the strangeness of Project 2025, we always play clips from him on this show, is Pete Buttigieg. So let's check it out.
Yeah, this is the only time in modern history that I've ever seen a presidential candidate run away from his own platform. And to be clear, Project 2025 is just a detailed version of what the Trump governing agenda has been all along. We know that because it fits perfectly with what he did in his first term, and it's clearly what he would do in his second term. And the real problem isn't some document called Project 2025. The problem is what's in it. The problem is what he plans to do, doubling down on eliminating a woman's right to choose, getting rid of Head Start, as you mentioned, and the Department of Education, really sending our infrastructure backwards in this country. Just so many things in there that range from unacceptable to crazy. And by the way, Project 2025 isn't just about policy ideas on a sheet of paper. It's also about people. They have been assembling the people that Donald Trump will push into the federal government if he gets the chance to appoint them. And they're the kind of folks who wrote up this kind of stuff. It is really, really disturbing, really troubling, and most importantly of all, really unpopular. You don't have to read through the 900 pages or however long it is to know that the ideas of this campaign, the ideas of what the Republican Party has become under Donald Trump, just go against what the vast majority of Americans believe on the issues that matter most to them in their lives.
Right.
I talk so much on this show about contrast because it is incredibly important for us to show the contrast between the two candidates of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump in this race. And that contrast that Pete lays out, a vision of pushing us back to the past with Donald Trump and a vision of moving towards the future with Kamala Harris, is why Donald Trump is so scared to debate. It's why he's saying that he'll only hold a debate with Kamala Harris if it's on Fox, because he needs his friends at the Fox Propaganda Network to hold his hand and throw him softballs and help him make sure that his cognitive decline isn't fully on display for tens of millions of Americans to watch. He knows that the contrast on stage will be so incredibly clear, even if you didn't hear a single word that came out of his mouth. Between Kamala Harris, the young, fresh face of the Democratic Party, and this dementing, deranged Donald Trump, who only lobs personal attacks and has no real criticism of Kamala Harris's record, because what would it be, Donald? He tries to say she's soft on crime. Well, you're a criminal. He tries to blame an unsecure border on her, but he's the reason that the bipartisan border deal was blown up. He has no real criticism. He has these strange personal attacks that always fall flat, and the contrast is clear. And who the best candidate in this race is clear. We have the two records in front of us. We have decades of experience from both of these people, and Kamala Harris's case, battling the corrupt and Donald Trump's being corrupt. This is not even a conversation, and that's why Donald Trump is so afraid to debate, because the case will be made clear, really with him or without him, but with him, it'll be abundantly clear to the American people. And if you want to be a part of this movement, calling out Donald Trump and making that case against him, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, join what we are building on this channel. And if you enjoyed these videos, make sure as always to leave a like. It goes a long way. And if you want to add a little extra layer of support to these videos, it would really mean the world to me. You could go ahead and click that join button. It's an extra way to support this channel, to become an exclusive member, to get exclusive videos every single week, and support me, and it would mean a lot. As a college student, I'm working really hard on this new channel, and that extra support goes a long way. And until next time, I'll see you soon.